My name is Elena Vasquez. I was 29 years old when I buried my grandmother, the woman who raised me, on a Tuesday morning in January. The ground was frozen solid. The priest stumbled over her name twice. And the family plot at Holy Cross Cemetery had exactly 6 folding chairs set up for the graveside service. I sat in the front row, alone. My mother, my father, and my younger brother had all texted me the night before. Each message was a variation of the same thing. Something came up. Work is crazy. You understand, right? I understood perfectly. I had always understood. But the empty chairs at my grandmother's funeral were just the beginning. What my mother demanded 6 weeks later, and what I found inside my grandmother's safety deposit box the day after she died. That's where this story really starts. But before I bring you to the story, please take a moment to like and subscribe, and do let me know where you are listening this story from, because I love knowing where these stories travel. Now let me take you back to the Vasquez family. My grandmother, Carmen Vasquez, was a seamstress in East Los Angeles. She came from Mexico in 1972 with a sewing machine and $200 in her pocket. By the time I was born, she owned a small house on Mott Street. 2 bedrooms, a backyard with a lemon tree, and a front porch where she sat every evening with a cup of café de olla, watching the neighborhood go quiet. She raised me because my mother, Sylvia, was too busy. Too busy with her career, she said. Too busy with her new husband. Too busy with my younger brother, Mateo, who always seemed to need everything all at once. I moved into my grandmother's house when I was 8. Not officially, at first. My mother dropped me off on a Friday and didn't come back until Sunday. Then the Sundays stopped too. By the time I was 10, I had my own bedroom at Abuela's house, a toothbrush in her bathroom, a seat at her table. My grandmother never complained. She just made me breakfast every morning. Eggs, tortillas, beans. Then she walked me to the bus stop before she went to her sewing job. She taught me how to thread a needle, how to pray the rosary, how to stand up straight when people look down on you. She never said it out loud, but I knew she was preparing me for a world where no one else would. My mother visited maybe once a month. She would sit on the porch for an hour, drink a cup of coffee, complain about her husband, complain about money, and then leave. She never asked about my homework. Never asked if I needed anything. Never once offered to take me back. My father, Carlos, wasn't in the picture at all. He left when I was 3, sent a birthday card once. I still have it somewhere, tucked inside a book I never finished reading. And my brother, Mateo, 5 years younger than me, the golden child, my mother's favorite. The one who could do no wrong. When he crashed his car at 17, my mother paid for the repairs. When he dropped out of community college, my mother said school isn't for everyone. When he got arrested for selling counterfeit merchandise at a swap meet, my mother hired a lawyer. I paid for my own community college tuition. I worked at a nursing home during the day and took classes at night. My grandmother co-signed my student loans because my mother said she could not afford to help. I never argued. I just worked harder. When I was 24, my grandmother fell. Broken hip. She was 78. The surgery went well, but she never fully recovered. She needed help walking, help bathing, help remembering to take her medications. My mother's response was a shrug. She said she should go to a home. I said no. I moved back into my grandmother's house. I left my apartment, left my job at a dental office, found something closer. I became a certified home health aide, not for the money, but so I could take care of her the right way. For 3 years, I was her caregiver. I woke her up at 7 every morning, gave her breakfast, helped her shower, took her to doctor's appointments, cooked her dinner, watched telenovelas with her on the couch until she fell asleep with her head on my shoulder. My mother visited twice in those 3 years, once for Christmas, once because she needed my grandmother to sign something for a loan she was trying to get. She stayed 20 minutes the second time. Mateo never came, not once. He sent a text on her 80th birthday. Happy birthday, Abuela, that was it. My grandmother never complained about them. But sometimes, late at night, she would hold my hand and say, Elena, you are the only one who stayed. The only one who saw me. I would tell her to go to sleep. Then I would sit in the kitchen and cry where she could not hear me. Before she got sick, my grandmother had a small pension from her years as a seamstress. $1,200 a month. enough for groceries, utilities, her property taxes. After she got sick, my mother started asking me for money. Elena, can you send me $300? The roof on my house needs repairs. Elena, Mateo lost his job. Can you help him with rent? Just this once. Elena, your father reached out. He says he needs money for a medical thing. I know he was not there for you, but family is family. I sent it every time. I set up an auto transfer, $400 on the first of every month, to my mother's account. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself she would pay it back. I told myself a lot of things that were not true. Over 18 months, I sent my mother $7,200, plus another $2,300 for Mateo's emergencies, a car repair, a phone bill, a security deposit for an apartment he never moved into. Not once did my mother ask how my grandmother was doing during any of those calls. Not once did she offer to come sit with her so I could take a day off. Not once did she say thank you. She just took, like she always had. My grandmother died on a Thursday, heart failure. She was in her bed, holding my hand. The hospice nurse said it was peaceful. I do not know if peace is the right word for watching someone you love stop breathing. I called my mother first. She did not pick up. I left a voicemail. Mom, abuela passed. Please call me. She called back 6 hours later. The first thing she said was not how are you, or I am sorry, or even what happened. She said, did she have any money in the house? We need to get there before anyone takes anything. I hung up. I called Mateo. He sent a text. Sorry. Cannot make the funeral, work stuff. He worked at a vape shop part-time. I planned the funeral alone. The viewing, the mass, the graveside service. I paid for everything out of my savings. $4,800. The casket, the flowers, the priest, the plot next to my grandfather who died before I was born. The morning of the funeral, my mother texted, we are not going to make it. Something came up with Mateo. You understand, right? She did not say what came up. She did not apologize. She just sent those 4 words, you understand, right, like they were a key that unlocked every door she did not want to walk through. The funeral had 11 people. Me, my boyfriend, Derek, my grandmother's neighbor, Mrs. Reyes. A few cousins I had not seen in years, the priest, the funeral director, and 6 empty chairs that were supposed to hold my mother, my father, and my brother. After the service, Mrs. Reyes walked up to me. She was 82, used a cane, and had more strength in her pinky than my entire blood family combined. She put her hand on my shoulder and said, Mija, your grandmother used to tell me every day that you were the best thing that ever happened to her. She saw you, even when they did not. I did not cry at the funeral. I cried in the car on the way home. Derek held my hand and did not say anything. He just let me fall apart. The day after the funeral, I went to my grandmother's bank. She had given me a key years ago. For emergencies, she said. She told me the box was in my name too. I never opened it. I never asked what was inside. The bank manager led me to the vault. I turned the key. The box was heavier than I expected. Inside was a manila envelope. Inside that, my grandmother's will, a savings account passbook, and a handwritten letter. The will was simple. The house on Mott Street went to me, not to my mother, not to Mateo, to me. For her years of care and love, the will said, Elena is my granddaughter in blood and in deed. The savings account passbook showed an account opened the year I was born. My grandmother had deposited $50 every month for 29 years. The total balance was $54,700. And the letter, 3 pages, handwritten in Spanish, her cursive shaky but clear. She wrote, My dear Elena, if you are reading this, I am gone. I am sorry I could not stay longer. But I want you to know, this money is yours, every penny. You gave me 3 years of your life when you could have walked away. You held my hand when I was scared. You made me feel like I mattered. Your mother and your brother, they have their own paths. But you, Mija, you have my heart. Buy yourself a house. Go back to school. Do something that makes you happy. And do not let them guilt you into giving them anything. They did not earn it. You did. I love you, abuela. I sat in the bank lobby for 30 minutes. I read the letter 4 times. Then I put everything back in the box, locked it, and walked out. I did not tell anyone what I found. 6 weeks after the funeral, my phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Elena, Mateo got into some trouble. Legal trouble. He needs a lawyer and the retainer is $10,000. I need you to send that by Friday. I know Abuela left you something. Just send what you can. We are family. No greeting. No, how are you holding up? No mention of the funeral they missed. Just I need and send that and a reminder that we are family, a word she used like a weapon. I read it 3 times. Then I opened Facebook, Mateo's profile. His most recent post was from that morning. A photo of him at a Lakers game, courtside seats, holding a beer. The caption said, "Best night ever." I pulled up my bank statements. $7,200 in auto transfers to my mother over 18 months, $2,300 for Mateo's emergencies, $4,800 for a funeral they did not attend, $0 contributed to my grandmother's care, 0 contributed to my life, ever. I sat on my couch for an hour, then I opened my banking app and canceled the auto transfer. Permanent. Then I opened Venmo. I sent my mother $10. In the memo line, I wrote, "For Mateo's lawyer. Best wishes." Abuela said not to share the money. I am honoring her wish. The family group chat went nuclear within minutes. My mother posted a screenshot of my Venmo payment first. Then she wrote, "After everything I did for you, after I raised you alone, you send me $10. $10, Alina? You have your grandmother's money sitting in a bank and you send me $10. My aunt texted, "Alina, that is cold. Your mother is struggling." My cousin said, "Family helps family. You are being greedy." Mateo wrote, "You are a selfish woman. You know that?" I did not respond to any of them. Then my mother called. I answered. "Alina, listen to me. That money was not meant for you alone." Abuela was confused at the end. She did not know what she was writing. That house should be split between all of us. That money should be shared. You are stealing from your own family. I let her finish. Then I said, "Mom, where were you when she fell? Where were you when she could not walk? Where were you when she stopped remembering your name?" I was there. Every day. For 3 years. You came twice. Twice in 3 years. You do not get to call me selfish because I will not fund Mateo's courtside seats. She hung up. 5 minutes later, a text. "You have 1 week to send the money, or do not bother calling me again." Actually, do not call anyway. You are dead to me. I did not respond. That night, I drove back to the bank. I sat in the parking lot and looked at the passbook again. $54,700. Almost 30 years of my grandmother's $50 deposits. She had been saving for me since I was born, before she even knew I would be the one who stayed. I thought about sending the money just to make the chaos stop. But that was the old Alina talking, the one who still wanted approval from people who had none to give. I closed the passbook, put it back, locked the box. That money was for my life. Not for their lies. A week after the Venmo payment, I went to the house on Mott Street. My grandmother's house. My house now. The probate process had finished. The deed was in my name. I had the keys. My mother still had a set of keys from years ago. I never asked for them back. I assumed she had forgotten about them. I was wrong. When I pulled into the driveway, the front door was unlocked. I knew I had locked it the week before. I checked twice. Inside, things were moved. Drawers were open. Closet doors were ajar. My grandmother's jewelry box, the cheap one with the fake pearls, was empty on the kitchen table. I walked through every room. I photographed everything. Time-stamped every image. My mother had been in the house. She had gone through my grandmother's things without telling me, without asking, without permission. I called a locksmith that afternoon. New deadbolts, new door handles, new lock on the gate in the back. I paid cash, $340. Then I texted my mother. "The locks on Abuela's house have been changed. If you need anything from the property, you text me first. I will let you know when you can come, with me present." She did not respond. While I was changing the locks, I found something in my grandmother's bedroom closet. A shoebox. Old, dusty, hidden behind winter coats. Inside were envelopes. Dozens of envelopes, all addressed to my grandmother. All from my mother. I opened one, then another, then another. They were requests for money going back 15 years. "Mom, I need $500 for the car." "Mom, Mateo needs braces. Can you send $1,200? "Mom, the landlord raised the rent. I need $800. Every envelope had a date. Every envelope had an amount. And every envelope had a note from my grandmother in the corner, in pencil, small, saying either sent or could not send. I counted. Over 15 years, my mother had asked my grandmother for $34,000. My grandmother, on a $1,200 monthly pension, had sent $22,000 of it. My grandmother had been bankrolling my mother and Mateo for my entire childhood. While I was eating her eggs and walking to the bus stop, she was sending money to people who never showed up. I photographed every letter, every envelope, every pencil note. I put them in a manila folder, date-stamped, organized. Then I sat on my grandmother's bed and cried for 10 minutes. Not for me, for her. For the way she gave and gave to people who only came around when they needed something. 3 weeks after the lock change, I opened the family group chat. I had been silent, letting them talk, letting them call me names, letting them paint me as the villain. I typed one message, I saved it as a draft, I read it 10 times, then I sent it. I wrote, "Here is the truth. Abuela died on a Thursday. None of you came to the funeral. Not one." Mom asked me for $10,000 6 weeks later for Mateo's legal fees. I have sent $7,200 in auto transfers over 18 months. I paid $2,300 for Mateo's emergencies. I paid $4,800 for the funeral you did not attend. Abuela left me the house and $54,700 in a savings account she started when I was born. She deposited $50 every month for 29 years. While she was doing that, she was also sending you money. I found the envelopes. 15 years of requests. $22,000 she sent to you. And where were you? You came twice in 3 years when she was sick. Twice. I was there every day. I held her hand when she died. You were at a Lakers game. I am not sending another penny. I am not changing my locks back. If you want a relationship with me, start by apologizing to Abuela's grave. Not to me, to her. The chat went silent for 4 hours. Then my aunt texted me privately, not in the group. She said, "I did not know any of that, Alina. The envelopes, the money, I am so sorry. My mother sent nothing. Mateo blocked me." 5 days after I sent that message, I came home from work. There was a police cruiser in front of my apartment. I was still renting while I decided what to do with the house on Mott Street. An officer got out, middle-aged, tired eyes. He said, "Alina Vasquez?" I said, "Yes." He said, "We received a call from a Sylvia Reyes. She is alleging elder abuse. She claims you coerced your grandmother into changing her will and took control of her finances against her will." I did not laugh, but I wanted to. I said, "Officer, my grandmother died of heart failure. Her will was signed 6 years before she died, witnessed by 2 bank employees. I have her handwritten letter. I have 15 years of envelopes showing my mother asking my grandmother for money. I have bank statements showing I paid for the funeral. I have 3 years of home health aid records showing I was her caregiver. My mother visited twice." The officer looked at me for a long moment. He said, "Can you show me some of that documentation?" I invited him inside. I brought out the manila folder. The will, the letter, the envelopes, the bank statements, the funeral receipt, the home health aid records. He flipped through everything. Took photos with his department phone, handed the folder back. He said, "Ms. Vasquez, based on what I am seeing, this appears to be a family dispute, not a criminal matter. Your grandmother's will is clear. The documentation is extensive. I will note in my report that the allegations are unfounded. If your mother calls again, we will advise her to seek civil counsel." He left. I closed the door, locked the new locks, leaned against the wood and let my knees go weak. My mother had called the police on me, her daughter, the one who held her mother's hand while she died, because I would not give her $10,000 for my brother's lawyer. 2 weeks later, my mother showed up at the house on Mott Street. I was there cleaning out my grandmother's closets, deciding what to keep and what to donate. She parked her car in the driveway, got out, walked to the front door, tried her key. It did not work. She knocked, hard. I opened the door. She looked older than I remembered. Thinner, her hair was gray in a way I had not noticed before, but her eyes were the same. Hard, calculating. She said, "Alina, we need to talk." I said, "Then talk." She said, "Do not give me attitude in front of my mother's house." I said, "Your mother's house. The deed says my name." The probate court agreed. "This is my house now." She stepped closer. She said, "You think you are so smart, changing the locks, sending $10 on Venmo, posting that message in the group chat, you think you have won something." I said, "I am not trying to win, Mom. I am trying to be done." She said, "Done? You cannot be done. I am your mother." I looked at her. I said, "You stopped being my mother when you dropped me off at Abuela's house when I was 8 and did not come back. You were my mother when you needed money. You were my mother when you wanted something. But you were not my mother when she died. You were not my mother at the funeral. You were not my mother any of the days I sat with her while she forgot how to eat." Her lip trembled. For a second, I thought she might actually hear me. Then her face hardened again. She said, "If you do not give me the money, the $10,000, I am going to tell everyone what you did. I will tell the family you stole from a dying woman. I will tell your job. I will tell everyone." I said, "Tell them. I have the receipts. I have the envelopes. I have the will. I have the letter. You have nothing but lies and a son who sits courtside while you beg his sister for money." She stared at me, opened her mouth, closed it. Then she turned around, walked to her car, and drove away. I closed the door, turned the deadbolt, walked to my grandmother's bedroom, sat on her bed, put my hand on the pillow where her head used to rest. I did not cry. I just sat there. And for the first time in my life, I felt nothing for her. Not anger, not sadness, just nothing. My mother never called to arrange picking up the rest of her things from the house. She had left boxes in the garage. Old photos, Christmas decorations, a box of my grandmother's clothes she had taken years ago and never returned. I gave her 30 days. Written notice. Certified mail. She did not respond. On day 31, I donated everything to a women's shelter. The clothes, the decorations, the photos. I kept 3 photographs. My grandmother on her wedding day, my grandmother holding me as a baby, and a photo of my grandmother sitting on her front porch, smiling, the lemon tree behind her. Everything else went into trash bags, and then into my car, and then into the donation bin. I did not feel guilty. I felt light. I wrote my mother a letter. I never mailed it. But I wrote it. I said, "Mom, I am not angry anymore. I am just tired. I spent 29 years being the daughter who showed up. I spent 3 years being the granddaughter who stayed. I spent 18 months sending you money you never thanked me for, and when Abuela died, you did not come. You did not call. You texted about money. I have my own life now. I have the house on Mott Street. I have a savings account my grandmother built for me with $50 deposits she could not really afford. I have a boyfriend who held my hand when I cried in the car after her funeral. I have peace, and I am not giving it up so you can feel better about yourself. I love you because I have to, but I do not like you. And I am done pretending otherwise." I folded the letter, put it in an envelope, wrote her address on it. Then I put it in the shoebox with my grandmother's letters, the ones my mother wrote asking for money. I kept it as a reminder of what I survived, of what I chose not to become. I moved into the house on Mott Street full-time 6 months after my grandmother died. I painted the kitchen yellow, her favorite color. I planted a new lemon tree in the backyard because the old one had died. I hung her wedding photo in the living room, right above the couch where she used to sit and watch her telenovelas. I did not go to therapy. I probably should have, but I talked to Mrs. Reyes instead. She lived 3 doors down and had known my grandmother for 40 years. One afternoon, she sat on my porch, drinking coffee from my grandmother's favorite cup. She said, "Mija, your abuela used to pray for you every night, every single night. She prayed that you would be strong enough to leave when you needed to. She knew you stayed because you loved her, but she also knew you needed to leave someday, not leave her, leave the rest of them." I cried on Mrs. Reyes's shoulder that day, not sad crying. Relieved crying, the kind of crying that comes after you have been holding your breath for 30 years and finally let it go. I enrolled in a nursing program at the community college. I used some of my grandmother's money for tuition. I got my CNA certification first, then my LPN. I am working on my RN now, 1 class at a time. The house is small. The lemon tree is still growing, but it is mine. Every nail, every lock, every painted wall. People will call you selfish for setting boundaries. They will call you cold, ungrateful, heartless. My mother called me a thief. My brother called me a bitter woman. My aunt said I was tearing the family apart. But here is what I learned standing at my grandmother's grave, alone, on a frozen Tuesday in January. The people who love you do not make you earn it. They do not show up only when they need something. They do not skip your grandmother's funeral and then text you for $10,000 6 weeks later. They show up, even when it costs them something. And if they will not show up for you, you have every right to stop showing up for them. That is not cruelty. That is not revenge. That is just finally deciding that your peace matters more than their comfort. My name is Alina Vasquez. I am a nurse now. I live in my grandmother's house on Mott Street. The lemon tree is starting to bear fruit. My mother called me once, about a year after the funeral. She left a voicemail. She said she was sorry, not for the money, not for the police, not for the funeral. She said she was sorry that things got so hard between us. I did not call back. Some doors close for a reason, and some locks are worth changing. If this story reminded you that your peace matters more than their approval, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.